Hello, I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach. And in this episode, I want to talk about the notion of working on yourself. It goes back to my principle of you got to master mental fortitude in order to be the artist that you want to be, in order to find success that you are seeking, and so forth. And while the majority of this episode, as you might have gleaned from the title and description, I'm going to be talking about Byron Katie's work, I want to kind of start on a tangent and get into that. So I listen to On Purpose, which is a podcast by Jay Shetty, where he interviews amazing people. And an episode that I listened to was him and Jada Pinkett Smith. And I haven't really listened to Jada Pinkett Smith in terms of her as a person. I've seen her in movies and so forth, but in terms of her as a human being and her belief system, I'm not all that familiar, admittedly. I know she has Red Table Talk and so forth, and people say that's a great show, but I just haven't watched it and so forth. And I was just blown away at the self-awareness and the humility that she has. And one of the things that she talked about was this idea that whenever you have a conflict in life or problem, it's because you invited that problem. So if you're having a problem with a person especially, well, it's because you invited and allowed that person to have that conflict with you, right? And that is an incredible thing to really think about, and it's a very powerful one, and the way she describes it is just truly amazing. And one of the things that makes her so humbling is the fact that she doesn't just preach this as she's holier than thou. She really goes through this work. And the term "the work," it really is about that, because I'm going to get to Byron Katie's, because her practice really is called the work. But this idea that you have to go deep, right? Whenever there's things happening in your life, you have to go deep with them in order to understand them and resolve them. Like, where are they coming from? And I think, one of the things that she talks about is this idea that too often times we make a rhetorical request via a question to the world of why does my life suck? Or why is this happening to me? And it's that's a rhetorical question, because all you're doing is ultimately complaining, even though it's a question, when in fact, what you should be doing of okay, what have I done to create these circumstances? What have I allowed into my life? What have I done to let this be? And when you sit in stillness and really invite that question, and it's an exploration, then you can get some answers, right? But it's not a request. It should never be a request and a demand. It should be please help me understand this. And that could be to God, the universe, or just, again, as you sit in stillness, your own heart, really. That's, I know people talk about listening to your brain, listen to your heart, and so forth. And it's actually funny. I think part of the reason why we don't listen with our hearts more often is well, my heart doesn't have the capacity to listen. It's well, neither does your brain. Your ears are the ones that are listening. Your brain's just the thing that's interpreting it. So if you want to get really logical about it, think about it from that perspective. So needless to say, I believe we should all listen to our hearts more. It actually has more wisdom than we give it credit for. But so where does this shift into Byron Katie's work? Well, when Jada Pinkett Smith talks about, doing the work and going deep, really that's what the work of Byron Katie is. It's kind of ultimately a system that allows you to do this. And she's just, I can't believe I didn't know about her work earlier. Her work now creates seismic shifts in me. Whenever I have a thought now, I'm constantly questioning it via her system. So what is her system, right? Well, number one, she is of the belief that the only reason people suffer is because of their beliefs. She has a kind of, I'm paraphrasing a quote, but oh, how believers suffer. And she's not talking about religious people. She's talking about any time there's a thought in your mind and and you allow it to be a belief, then you suffer, right? So if it's serving you, then great. But if it's bringing you sadness and anger or whatever else, jealousy, envy, then it's not serving you. And she invites you to kind of explore that, okay? So number one, is the thought that you're having, is it true? Okay, so you would ask yourself that. And it's a yes or no. Can you be certain that it's true, yes or no? Right? Even if we think, oh, it's got to be true, it's got to be true, you know. Like let's say one of the big like online videos with her applying this work is with someone who's trying to get their sister to be sober. And the thought is like, you know, I believe my sister should stop drinking because she's destroying her life, right? By the way, you can look this up on YouTube. I'll include a link in the description as well. But if you just type in, I need her to be sober, Byron Katie, it'll come up. But anyway, so, you know, I need her to be sober because in order for her to save her life. Okay, is that true? Okay, the answer might be yes initially, but can you be certain that it's true, right? And then the third question is, how does that thought make you feel? You know, just going off of that example again, the woman wanted her sister to be sober because she wanted her sister to be happy, and it's like no. You know, so how does this make you feel? Well, it made her feel angry that her sister was drinking, that she was being disrespectful, and all these different things. But it was like, okay, so the fourth question is, what would your life be like if you didn't believe that thought? And this is where like a lot of it starts to shift, you know, once you really kind of do the exploration. And what the woman found out, and I really encourage you to kind of watch this because it's fascinating to see in the moment. I'm trying to do my best to give it justice, but seeing it in action is a whole nother thing. But in essence, what would your life be like if you didn't have that belief, right? Well, in that scenario, like the woman could actually be happy, not the sister who was drinking, but the actual woman who had this complaint. And you know, the fifth thing is kind of an action item, which is turn it around. You know, so explore that belief from different angles. Okay, I need my sister to be sober in order for her to be happy. No, I need her. I'm the one who needs to be happy, right? So when you really start to kind of shift these things, you start to see how wrong our belief systems really are. We believe such basic bullshit that's just mind-boggling. And one of the kind of guiding principles as well that she has is there's three kinds of business. There's your business, there's other people's business, and then there's what she calls God's business, which is the universe, if you want to term it as that. It's essentially like, you know, if an earthquake or a tsunami is going to come, well, you're not going to prevent that, and neither is any other person alive, right? That's just the universe's business. And the problem becomes we try to assert ourselves into other people's business. That's where we run into trouble. And a lot of our beliefs actually kind of form in that way where, you know, so like, in that sense, the woman who needed her sister to be sober, it's getting into the sister's business. You know, I mean, it kind of became a joke, but it was like, if you know, in that video, if the woman really wanted her sister to be happy, she would just hand her a bottle of booze, because that's what would have made her happy. It wasn't about the sister. It was, you know, the sister was there. The woman was drunk on her thoughts. The sister was drunk on alcohol, and you know it. So it's just really incredible. Like, I don't know. There's so few people in this world who I can term as enlightened. Don Miguel Ruiz is one who I would say is an enlightened human being. But Byron Katie is also one. And what I appreciate about her is that it's practical. You know, I think it's one thing to like assume enlightenment when you denounce all of society, move to like the middle of nowhere and just live out your life that way. It's a whole other thing when you actually, you know, are part of society, live in a metropolitan area, interact with people and so forth. Like, it's a lot harder to be enlightened in that sense, but she's proven that it is possible. And that's the cool part about it. So if you kind of utilize her method of is the thought that I'm having true? Can I be certain that it's true? How does it make me feel? What would it be like if that wasn't part of my life, that belief? And then the action item of, what is it like? What is this thought reversed? So if now when I was a big advocate of journaling before this, still am, but now when I journal, I try to approach it in that sense. And ironically, it's like my favorite mental exercise. Whenever something pops up and it's irking me in my thoughts, I'm like, I go through this process of like, is it true? It's like, no, it's not true. I'm just making it true. So utilize that. I hope it helps you as much as it helps me. I encourage you to really dive deep on her work. It is life-altering. It truly is. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments or things of that nature, by all means, just write in the comment section or hit me up on social media @BillSvitek, and I hope to see you next time.